All right, let's talk about transforming your operations. If you've ever felt like your business is just stuck, bogged down by all those manual tasks, then you are definitely in the right place. Today, we're going to build a really practical roadmap to get you to smart, strategic automation.
So, does this sound familiar? You're just buried in repetitive tasks. You're feeling that constant pressure of things just not being efficient. All those hours spent on data entry, the manual reporting, it's like being stuck in operational quicksand, right? Well, that feeling is exactly what we're going to tackle today. These are the pain points a smart automation strategy is built to solve.
So how are we going to do it? Well, here's our roadmap. It's a clear 5-step plan. We'll start with the why, setting your goal. Then the where, auditing your processes. We'll move on to the how, building the blueprint. Then the what, measuring the payoff. And finally, we'll cover the what if, managing the risks. This is your guide from chaos to clarity. So let's jump right into step 1.
Okay, first things first, setting your goal. And honestly, this is probably the most critical step of them all. Before you even think about looking at a single piece of software, you've absolutely got to establish your why.
So the question you have to ask yourself is, what are we really trying to do here? What's the specific purpose? Is it all about increasing efficiency? Maybe you want to slash costs. Or maybe you just want to get rid of those tiny but super costly human errors. Getting crystal clear on this objective, that becomes the North Star for your entire project. It guides every single decision you make from here on out.
All right, so once you know why you're automating, the next big question is where. This is all about pinpointing where you'll get the maximum impact. Think of it like this. It's the diagnostic phase. You can't just throw a solution at a problem you haven't properly identified, right?
And look, this isn't about guesswork. It means you've got to take a really honest look at how your teams are working right now. The first step is to literally map out your current manual processes. You need to get under the hood, so to speak, to find the biggest opportunities, the real bottlenecks, where all that time is just getting eaten up.
And a simple tool like this audit table, this is where the magic really starts to happen. I know, it looks pretty basic, but it forces you to get super specific. You're not just saying things are slow. You're naming the process, identifying the department, and this is key. You're actually putting a number on the time spent per week. By the time you get to that last column and assign a priority, that vague feeling of, we're so inefficient, turns into a solid, data-driven action plan.
Okay, so our diagnosis is done, our priorities are set. Now it's time for the fun part, building the blueprint. This is where we stop talking and start doing. We're moving from analysis to action.
And just remember, automation isn't siloed off in one little corner of the business. No way. The opportunities are literally everywhere. Marketing, operations, HR, finance, customer support, you name it. So as we look at these areas, think back to that audit you just did. Where did all those high-priority tasks land? Now, the plan itself doesn't have to be some 100-page document. It just needs to be clear. It really boils down to 4 simple steps. 1. Select your pilot tools. Don't try to boil the ocean. Start with one project. 2. Involve the right departments. 3. Set a real, achievable launch date. And 4, and this is so important, assign responsibility. Someone needs to own this project. Accountability is everything. So, you've launched your pilot. Awesome. But how do you know if it's actually working? How do you really know? That brings us to step 4, measuring the payoff. We have to define and track success, make those benefits real and tangible. And this is where it all comes full circle. You have to connect back to that original objective we set way back in step 1. Are you actually saving time? How much? Are costs really going down? By what percentage? Are you seeing fewer errors? Is productivity up? These aren't just fuzzy, feel-good ideas. These are the hard numbers, the key expected outcomes that prove your ROI. And when you can visualize the payoff like this, it's a game changer. Look at that. Seeing a productivity gain jump from, say, 65% on a manual process all the way up to 95% with automation, that makes the value totally undeniable. This is the kind of chart that gets everyone in the company excited and on board for more. But listen, this can't be a one-and-done kind of thing. Success is tracked with clear KPIs and, just as importantly, a consistent review schedule. A lot of people think automation is a set-it-and-forget-it deal. It's not. It's a living system that you need to monitor and tweak to make sure you're still getting the most bang for your buck.
Okay, let's be real for a second. With any new project, things can go sideways.
A smart plan doesn't just hope for the best, it prepares for the worst. So that brings us to our fifth and final step, managing the risks, preparing for all the what-ifs.
The whole goal here is just to be prepared, not scared. Think about potential challenges. Like, what about software integration issues? They're going to happen. So what's your mitigation strategy? Maybe a phased rollout plan. What about staff training? That's not a challenge, it's a requirement. So you plan for comprehensive training sessions right from the start. See? When you think about these things ahead of time, you pave a much smoother road for yourself. And all of this, every single step, brings us back to the one fundamental question that should drive this whole process. Which tools or automation will create the highest impact on operational efficiency and scalability? That's the lens you need to look through. It is never, ever about automating just for the sake of it.
And that, right there, is the real power of this framework. It gives you a structured way to answer that exact question for your business. When you follow these steps, you're not just guessing anymore. You're building a clear, logical, and data-driven path to making the right choice. So I'll leave you with this final thought. You now have the roadmap. The framework is right here. The only question left to answer is, what's the very first high-impact process you are going to automate?